In the annals of military history, the Gulf War stands out as a conflict that altered the world's geopolitical landscape. The Middle East, a region rich in history and culture, was a simmering cauldron of economic and diplomatic tension. Iraq, a country once prosperous from its vast oil reserves, found itself crippled by the harsh realities of war debt and economic sanctions. Relations with its neighbor Kuwait were strained, to say the least. Kuwait, a small yet wealthy nation, was a tantalizing prospect for a country in desperate need of economic relief. But it wasn't just about Iraq and Kuwait. The entire region was a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and power struggles. Countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Syria each had their own agenda, their own vested interests. This was the calm before the storm, a precarious balance of power ready to tip at any moment. Little did the world know that this simmering tension would soon explode into a full-blown military conflict. On August 2, 1990, Iraq, under the dictatorship of Saddam Hussein, launched a surprise invasion of Kuwait, an act of aggression that would ignite a conflict with international implications. This was not just an attack on a small, oil-rich nation, but a power play that would resonate across the globe. The reasons behind this invasion were multifaceted. Economically, Iraq was burdened with a massive debt, accrued during the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s. Kuwait, a wealthy oil nation, was viewed by Iraq as an easy solution to their financial woes. Additionally, Saddam Hussein harbored territorial ambitions, seeking to control Kuwait's vast oil reserves and establish Iraq as a dominant power in the Middle East. Simultaneously, there were disputes over the Rumaila oil field, straddling the Iraq-Kuwait border. Iraq accused Kuwait of using slant drilling techniques to extract oil from beneath Iraqi territory. This standoff over oil, money, and territorial rights led to the fateful decision of invasion. The invasion was swift and brutal. Iraq's well-equipped army overran Kuwait in just 2 days. The Kuwaiti royal family and government officials fled into exile, leaving their homeland in the hands of a ruthless dictator. The international community's response was immediate and unified. The United Nations Security Council condemned the invasion and demanded Iraq's immediate withdrawal. When Iraq refused, the Security Council passed Resolution 678, authorizing the use of force to expel Iraqi forces from Kuwait. It was a clear message to Saddam Hussein and the world. This act of aggression would not be tolerated. Meanwhile, world leaders, led by then United States President George H.W. Bush, began assembling a broad coalition of nations to counter Iraq's aggression. This coalition, known as Operation Desert Shield, would eventually involve over 30 nations, including several from the Middle East, marking a significant shift in global politics and alliances. The world watched in horror as a small nation was swallowed up by its much larger and more powerful neighbor. But this would be no silent tragedy. The spark had ignited, and the world was gearing up for a conflict that would forever change the landscape of the Middle East. The international community, led by the United States, was swift to respond. As the severity of Iraq's invasion of Kuwait became clear, nations across the globe began to mobilize. The United States, in particular, felt the weight of responsibility. As a superpower, it was compelled to act, not just for the sake of Kuwait, but to maintain order in a world that seemed to be teetering on the brink of chaos. In the heart of this global response was the formation of the coalition forces. Countries from all corners of the world came together, united by a common purpose: to liberate Kuwait and uphold international law. This coalition was a testament to the power of collective action, with over 30 nations, including the United Kingdom, France, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, joining the United States in their commitment to this cause. The United Nations, too, played a crucial role. It was the UN that passed a series of resolutions condemning Iraq's invasion and demanding their immediate and unconditional withdrawal. These resolutions not only provided a legal basis for military action, but also emphasized the collective will of the international community. Preparation for military action was meticulous. The coalition forces understood that they were not merely facing a rogue nation, but a well-equipped army with a battle-hardened leader. The preparation phase involved strategic planning, troop mobilization, and logistical arrangements. Every detail was scrutinized, every scenario was considered. The aim was not only to win the war, but to do so with the least possible loss of human life. As the preparations were finalized, the world watched with bated breath. Tensions were high, but so was the resolve of the coalition forces. They knew the task that lay ahead of them was monumental, but they were ready to face it head-on. The stage was set for a war that would be unlike any other the world had seen. On January 17, 1991, Operation Desert Storm began. This was the day when the world held its breath as the coalition forces led by the United States launched their military operation against Iraq. This operation was a response to Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, an act that had set the entire Middle East on edge. The operation started with an air campaign of unparalleled intensity. For 5 weeks, day and night, coalition aircraft flew over 42,000 sorties, targeting key infrastructures and military installations across Iraq. This was not just a show of force, but a strategic move to cripple Iraq's ability to retaliate. But the air campaign was only the beginning. The ground assault, known as the Hail Mary Plan, was set into motion on February 24th. This wasn't a mere march across the desert. It was a swift, sweeping maneuver around Iraqi forces designed to encircle and isolate them. The ground assault was as swift as it was decisive, with coalition forces liberating Kuwait in just 100 hours. Behind this military success was the use of cutting-edge technology. For the first time, the world saw the power of stealth bombers, precision-guided munitions, and night vision equipment. These technologies gave the coalition forces an edge, enabling them to carry out their missions with unprecedented accuracy and efficiency. But Operation Desert Storm was not just about the display of military might or the use of advanced technology. It was about the resolve of an international coalition to stand against aggression and to uphold the principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity. It was about restoring peace and stability in a region that was on the brink of chaos. Operation Desert Storm was a testament to the power of international cooperation and the effectiveness of modern military strategies. It showed how a determined coalition could achieve its objectives swiftly and decisively, minimizing collateral damage and maximizing strategic impact. In just over a month, the coalition forces had achieved their objective. They had driven out the Iraqi forces from Kuwait and had set a precedent for future conflicts. But the echoes of Operation Desert Storm would resonate far beyond the deserts of the Middle East. The Gulf War officially ended on February 28, 1991, but its impact is still felt today. In the immediate aftermath of the war, Kuwait was liberated from Iraqi occupation, but the victory came at a cost. The retreating Iraqi forces set ablaze more than 600 oil wells, turning the sky into a ceaseless night. Kuwait, once a prosperous nation, was left in ruins, a haunting reminder of the war's destructive power. Iraq, on the other hand, faced a different kind of devastation. The United Nations imposed stringent sanctions on the nation, crippling its economy and isolating it from the world. Iraq's infrastructure crumbled, its people suffered, and the country took years to recover. But the aftershocks of the Gulf War were not confined to Kuwait and Iraq alone. The conflict altered the landscape of the Middle East and reshaped its political alliances. It brought together an unlikely coalition of nations, united against a common enemy. Yet it also deepened the sectarian divide, setting the stage for future conflicts in the region. The Gulf War was also a turning point in military strategy and technology. It marked the debut of precision-guided munitions, stealth aircraft, and real-time surveillance systems. These advancements changed the face of warfare and influenced future military operations around the world. The war also left a deep psychological impact. It exposed the harsh reality of modern warfare, the devastation it inflicts, and the human cost it entails. This consciousness continues to shape global attitudes towards war and conflict. The Gulf War in many ways was a precursor to the conflicts that would follow in the new millennium. It set the stage for the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, and continues to cast a long shadow over the Middle East. The Gulf War, a conflict that lasted just a few months, left an indelible mark on the world. The Gulf War was a pivotal moment in world history, affecting millions and changing the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. A powder keg set off by Iraq's invasion of Kuwait, the conflict swiftly escalated, drawing in nations from across the globe. The world's response was swift and decisive, mounting a united front in what would come to be known as Operation Desert Storm. This military campaign was marked by a series of strategic maneuvers and significant battles, ultimately leading to the liberation of Kuwait. Yet the aftermath of the conflict left a lasting legacy, with far-reaching consequences that continue to shape the Middle East. From the socio-political fallout to the economic implications, the ripple effects of the Gulf War are still being felt today. While the Gulf War may be a few decades past, its echoes still reverberate today, reminding us of the profound impact of international conflicts.